What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Misplayed Magic, the only Magic the Gathering YouTube channel doing giveaways based on how I draft. You'll see up on the screen here, if I get 0 wins in this draft, I'm giving away a collector booster pack to one of you. All the way down to 7 wins, I'll be giving away a draft. So all you have to do to claim this is like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below on how you think I did. Before we jump into the draft here, we do want to spin the Wheel of Chaos to give us a fun challenge for this draft. Alright, so today's challenge is that I have to go and draft with the Lost Archetype, or the worst performing archetype in this set. I have to force it. Alright, so the worst archetype is Abzan if we're going 3 colors, or it's Dimir if we're going 2 colors. So Abzan is going to be green, white, and black, and then Dimir is going to be blue and black. So we're going to be forcing one of those 2 archetypes today as we hop into this draft. Alright, hopping into this draft here, we have to force an Abzan deck, or we could force a blue-black deck if we want to go that route. Dragonologist could be good, and we'll just muck it up with a ton of dragons and removal spells. Or we could take something like a Kin-Tree Severance as a super solid removal spell and kind of make our way into Abzan that way. This is tough. I do think if we go Dimir, it's really bad. We have a really low chance of winning. But I kind of think it'd be interesting if we tried. I guess there's just not any good 2-drops or 3-drops really. I mean, it's got like a 47% win rate, so I'm going to go with a Kin-Tree Severance here as a super solid Abzan removal spell. It's all 3 colors. We're going for it. And heading into our second pick, we could take a Salt Road Skirmish or a Detainment, but I'm really interested in the Knockout Maneuver as a great Abzan card. It helps with the counters theme, it's a removal spell, so we're going to pick that up pretty quickly. I don't really want another Kin-Tree Severance, it's just a little bit limited in that it can only take permanents with mana value 3 or greater, so we'll pick up the Knockout Maneuver here. Hello, we're doing the Abzan thing. Picking up an Armament Dragon here feels great as a really good top end of our curve, so we're more than happy picking that up here. Alright, hopping into our 4th pick, we can go with a Yathen Tomb Guard, which is really good if we do have the counter thing going, we're able to draw cards. We could go with a Champion of Doosan, or we could just take a Jungle Hollow. You all know how much I love the Champion of Doosan. I also like that we can put a counter on something. Snakeskin Veil's okay. I think we'll see more of those. I'm more excited in getting a good creature on our curve. And I like the Champion of Doosan just better than the Tomb Guard. I don't think the Tomb Guard is all that good. I will say, though, it's more of an Abzan card than the Champion of Doosan. So if we're forcing Abzan, let's just do it. Let's take the Tomb Guard. We'll do the counters thing in full. Hopping into our 5th pick here, we could go with an Alchemist's Assistant as a super solid 2-drop. An Attuned Hunter is a great 3-drop if we have a lot of recursion effects. And then we could take a Saga Wild, then we could take a Heritage Reclamation here. I do think that in this deck specifically, we're going to struggle for 2-drop creatures. I'm going to take an Alchemist's Assistant here. I think it's a super solid 2-drop. It's nothing spectacular, but it is decent here. Now I'm between either a Krumar Initiate, a Anok Wayfarer, or an Embermouth Sentinel. I'm going to play with cards I haven't really played with all that much. I know it's not great, but I'm going to go with a Krumar Initiate here. Y'all see me do the Anok Wayfarer thing a ton, so let's take the Initiate. Let's have some fun. Let's do something different here. Hopping into our 7th selection, I am going to take a Feral Deathgorger here as a technically fine dragon. And look, it's Abzan. You're doing counters. We're doing the thing. So we'll pick that up here. Moving on into our 8th selection, we could take a Dragonclaw Strike, but it would probably cost us 5 mana to cast that. So I'm not super interested in that here. Could take a Sultai Devotee as a fine 2-drop, does some fixing. So I think that's going to be our selection here. Alright, hopping into our 9th pick. Interesting. We can take another Yathen Tomb Guard. We could take a Dragon Brood's Relic, which we're probably not going to be doing too much with. I don't think we're going 5 colors here. That would not be in the Abzan archetype. And then we could take a Sarkhan's Resolve. We've got a couple good removal spells. Let's try out the Tomb Guard. Let's try and make it work here. Wow. Kin-Tree Severance wheeled back to us, which is fantastic. Look, I think Abzan is open. We've planted our flag in the most losing archetype. Yeah, Champion of Doosan is still here as well. So hopefully we can start to really reap some value from our opponents overlooking Abzan. And we can pick up some victories here. Here we'll take a Heritage Reclamation, although I'm not super intrigued by that. I will pick up our Mountain at the end of this pack. Alright, hopping into our next selection. We've got some good options here. So, Anafinza is a really good 3-drop. I will say, I don't know how much white we're going to be playing. I kind of think that's going to be our splash color. I'm pretty excited here to pick up an Inspirited Vanguard. I like the fact that it can put counters on itself. It can also make 2/2s. So we're going to pick that up here over something like a Rakshasa's Bargain. And hopefully that's the right choice. Alright, jumping into this next pack here. I think you all know what I'm taking. I love the Formation Breaker. It's really good if you can put counters on it. It can just take over games. I think it's a super fun card. Other considerations though, Worthy Cost is a good removal spell. Abzan Devotee is okay. I mean, we are forcing Abzan. Stormblade Entertainment's a great removal spell. Sultai Devotee is alright, but Formation Breaker is the exact type of creature we want to have in our deck if we're doing the counters and we're getting stompy here. Alright, looking at our third pick in this pack. I don't love the Storm Beacon Blade or the Dragonback Lancer. Aggressive Negotiations is actually decent. We have so many things to do with 3 mana that I'm not super interested in taking that here. Another Feral Deathgorger also doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Here I think we're going to pick up our first copy of the Snakeskin Veil as a really good protection effect, and we can hopefully hold on to some of our good creatures at the top of our curve. Heading on into our fourth selection here. Again, I mean, Sagu Wildling is probably the smart pick. Aenoch Wayfarer is great for getting lands. But we're rocking with the Bloodflies today. We're doing different stuff. We're going to try it out, and hopefully our counters can be enough there. Heading on into our fifth selection. Reputable Merchant is a Abzan 3-color card, so I think we're probably going to pick it here. Corroding Dragonstorm is okay. It does help with card draw. Like, I think one of the reasons that Abzan struggles so much is that in games that go long, you're just drawing lands. So we're going to take the... Actually, maybe we'll take the Corroding Dragonstorm for that reason. Yeah, let's do it. We have a couple of dragons at the top end of our curve here. Hopping into our sixth pick. That's a late knockout maneuver. We're more than happy scooping that up and putting that into our deck. Wow, Traveling Botanist coming around 2 is fantastic. So that's kind of a premium 2-drop in this deck that we're excited to pick up. Trade Route Envoy cares about counters. Abzan card, we're scooping it up. We're going to make it work. Heading on into our ninth pick, I'm actually going to take a Gormag Rakshasa here. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to end up playing that, but it's decent enough. 10th pick, we'll take a Worthy Cost. I don't know that we're going to end up playing that. I think it feels pretty bad in Abzan when you're sacrificing something good. Here we're going to take out the Storm Beacon Blade. Okay, I got to take a Enoch Wayfarer. Aggressive Negotiations, again, I know it's a good card, but we just have so many things to do on 3 that I don't want to be stuck with that being the biggest part of our curve here. Alright, we're going to take an Enoch Wayfarer. It wants to join into our deck. We're not gonna hate on it too much. It is a fantastic card. Reputable Merchant. Nobody wants that either. I don't know that it'll up. Whoa! Hello, Elspeth Storm Slayer. Okay, it is double white. But if I passed a Elspeth on the channel, I would hate that. So. Stalwart Successor is also pretty good. But Elspeth is so good. Let's do it. We're taking it. It should be a fun top into our curve. We're going to have to really figure out how to get some mana fixing quickly here in this last pack. Encroaching Dragonstorm is not a bad way to do it. Blossoming Sands is also pretty good. Do I want the Encroaching Dragonstorm or do I want the Blossoming Sands? We only have 2 dragons. But this allows us to really go get our colors and possibly pick it up. I'm going to go with the Encroaching Dragonstorm here. And then in this next pack, there's not a ton for us. We're going to take an Abzan Devotee just for fixing sake here, because we do have a lot of top end that we want to be able to play. Heading on to our 4th pick, I do think we'll take a Dragon Sniper as our first. It's just a really solid 1-drop. Moving on into our 5th pick. I think another Encroaching Dragonstorm is probably a little bit crazy. So we're just going to take a Jungle Hollow here as good lane fixing. I think we have more than enough playables. That's why I'm not tripping too much about it. Here we'll take a Roamer's Routine, as we're going to try and find all of our colors so we can make this Elspeth work. Here we can go with the Abzan Monument, which is pretty good, or we could just take a Scoured Barrens. I think we have so many things to do on 2, but the Monument's great. I'm going to take the Jeskai, or the Abzan Monument here. Could go another Dragon Sniper. Host of the Hereafter is like specifically an Abzan card, so we're going to pick it up here. We are getting a lot of value in this draft, just kind of wheeling around. It definitely could be a mistake to play the Elspeth, but it's just too much fun. We're going to force it here, and hopefully we get our mana to work decently enough. Hopping in this next pack, we will take our first Stalwart Successor. I could see a world in which we're playing that. We do have a ton of playables here, so we'll have to do some digging here late. Here we'll take up a Dilciad Earthcarver. Probably replaces the Rakshasa in our deck. Our mana fixing is not good, so that could be our Achilles heel here. We'll take another Trade Route Envoy. Here we'll pick up another Earthcarver. I don't see us playing the aggressive negotiations. I mean, we'll take another Encroaching Dragonstorm. There's a world in which we play 2. I don't think we're living in it. Alright, so here is the deck we're going to be rocking with today. We are forcing Abzan as part of our challenge, and this deck actually looks okay. I'm pretty excited to jump into it. The early part of our curve isn't fantastic, but the later part of our curve is pretty exceptional. So if we can just make it to the late stages of the game, actually I feel pretty good about this. We're rocking 15 creatures, 8 non-creatures. We do have a lot of threes. So hopefully that's not going to be too bad for us, but we'll hop into it here, see if we can get some games in. Alright, hopping into this one. Our opponent goes first. We're going to try it. Worst case, we can draw a card with our Death Gorger, and then hopefully the Champion of Doosan on 3 is not going to set us back too much. Having the Elspeth in hand is exciting if we can draw another Plains. And looks like they are going to have kind of an aggressively slanted deck here for us. I do think we're going to just stroll out the Champion of Doosan next turn. It's not a great blocker against something like the Bearer of Glory, but hopefully it allows us to stabilize a little bit. Alright, so our opponent did time out there, which is unfortunate. We're just going to play out our Champion of Doosan. And then we did draw Plains, which is fun, so I kind of want them to keep playing. I'd be sad if they just timed all the way out here. Okay, they're back. Reigning Victor's good. I do think we will play our knockout maneuver, targeting the Reigning Victor here, and then just attacking. And then next turn, we'll get the Elspeth out there. And then Armament Dragon after that. So, really cannot complain with how things have started here. So I do think now we are going to just offer this trade. And then we are going to play out the... I guess we could... No, let's play out the Elspeth. And then if they attack the Elspeth next turn, we can block with our 1/1 soldiers. And then we'll be able to play a Armament Dragon. Yeah, okay. Cool, we get there in game 1. Alright, we go first here. It is really slow, but like having the Elspeth in hand, we gotta keep that, right? And we'll draw a 2-drop, surely. It can't be that hard. Hopefully our opponent has got a slow start here. Yeah! Like, Abzan Monument's totally good. Now we can play the Host of the Hereafter on 4 and then the Elspeth on 5. So, Everything is just fine here. Imagine we draw a 3-drop next turn. We'd be unbeatable. So they do have a Traveling Botanist, which is quite good. We do not draw a 3-drop, sadly. So they'll get some value out of the Botanist here, but then hopefully we can go Host of the Hereafter into the Elspeth and try and stabilize a bit that way. Looks like they're debating if they want to take that card. Looks like they do. Herd Heirloom is pretty strong. Here I do think we're just going to play out our Host of the Hereafter. We can go 4-drop, 5-drop, 6-drop. No!
I got you, homie.
Why? Oh, that's a bummer. That's tough. That's so tough. They also know we have this Snakeskin Veil now. Ugh, that is so brutal. Oh, me. So... I do think we just hold up for a second here. I guess... if they have a Snakeskin Veil, we just got absolutely housed. Okay. I probably should have played around that a little bit better. So my logic here is that we'll use the Abzan Monument to make a 4/4, just to use our mana the best way, because then we'll go Armament Dragon into the Feral Deathgorger, or vice versa. And we'll keep up the Snakeskin Veil as well if they try to remove something. It also is like if they kill the Host of the Hereafter, then we're putting the counter somewhere. We're not totally losing that value. So that's kind of my logic there. Dang. Aurora Procession is crazy. So they get to take our Armament Dragon as well. Oh, that's tough. That is tough. If they take our Snakeskin Veil, that's fine. I'd rather them take that than the Armament Dragon. Yeah. Ugh, that's brutal. Hopefully they attack us. Attack us. You can see, they can see our hand. Okay, alright. Alright, so here I do think we're going to start by attacking. If they block either one of our creatures, we've got the Snakeskin Veil. And then we'll just play out the Feral Deathgorger. It's not fantastic, but it just puts the most pressure on our opponent. Oh, man. It also blocks decently well. But I feel like they've got some more action over there. Aegis Sculptor is fine by us. Alright, so they are going to pass there. I do think we're going to start by attacking. So the only spell they could have is a Snakeskin Veil. So if they put that on their Traveling Botanist, it would be a bummer, but we just want to maximize the damage we're doing here. So I'm going to just attack everywhere. We are going to attempt to use our Snakeskin Veil, to if they block with the botanist. Because worst case, we get to put those 3 counters on something else. Doesn't feel so terrible. So they snake's gonna be all their botanist. Yeah, this dies, but then we'll put all of our counters on the Feral Deathgorger. And then we'll have a 6/8 next turn, presenting lethal that way. So we're gonna go for that. If their last card's a removal spell, it's tough, but otherwise we win. So I think we kind of have to go for it. We'll play at our land as well. Do they have a removal spell? Alright. I want to see them dig in their deck a little bit here. Hopefully they don't draw it. So they get a land, and then they'll draw a card. No removal spell? Yes! We get there in game 2 as well. Let's go! Alright, hopping into this next game, we go first. I don't think we can keep this, unfortunately. If we don't draw a swamp, it's kind of worst case scenario for our deck. Here we are more than happy keeping this hand. I do think we will put back a... try to think of double green. We're going to put back the forest for now. And we'll play our Jungle Hollow tapped. We'll play our Abzan Devotee into our Stalwart Successor. It's not incredible, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. So we'll go Abzan Devotee here. Enoch Wayfarer is good, albeit not fantastic. They mill their own Abzan Devotee. And they're going to get back a forest. So we're just going to play... we're going to attack first, and we'll play our Stalwart Successor. Fine with that trade. Clears the way for our Menace creature. Unending Whisper's fine. So we are just going to attack, and then we're going to hold up for a second. We want him to think that we could be playing a creature right now, but we're going to choose not to. And then we're going to end our turn. Big brain plays. And then I'm going to return the Abzan Devotee to our hand on their turn. And then eventually we'll be able to play the Armament Dragon. Doesn't feel good that our opponent has a bajillion cards over there. Herd Heirloom is good. Sage of the Fang is super solid. We do get to keep attacking with our 3/2 with Menace, which feels alright. We'll return that to our hand, and then it'll be our turn. So here... I do think we're interested in playing the Devotee. I'm going to knock out Maneuver with the Stalwart Successor. That really puts all of our eggs in one basket, though. Let's do it. What the heck. I'd assume they probably have a removal spell. But we'll get to have 2 counters on it. We'll do 5 damage. And then next turn with the Armament Dragon, we'll get to spread some counters out as well. If it stays alive, I would assume it's going to die here. But a lot of green removal spells require you to have another creature out there. So maybe we can sneak a turn of this in. $100 Battle Veteran is not fantastic. I'm going to start by just playing out our Armament Dragon here. And then just because we get the value from the Stalwart Successor of putting counters on each one of our creatures, we're going to do it like this. And then, I mean, we're just going to attack everywhere. We would have maybe gotten one more point of damage if we put the counter over here. But next turn, we're now presenting lethal a couple of ways. So our opponent would have to have a pretty big turn here. Which they could have. They have a million cards. I'm not saying they won't. Awaken the Honored Dead is a great start. Another removal spell would be tough. But also possible. They have a ton of cards in hand. I also think, though, like, they would have fired off a Sarkhan's Resolve pretty quick here. Alright, we're going to get there here as well. Very excited with how this deck is performing so far. We are now 3-0. Up in this next game, we are going to keep this hand. It is a little tough with us only having 2 lands, so hopefully we can draw a couple of lands here and go Assistant into Successor into Host of the Hereafter. There's one. Just need one more and we are ripping here. What's nice too is that the lifelink counter and the renewability here works with the Stalwart Successor. Alright, we got our other land as well. So we are going to go Stalwart Successor. And then next turn, the Host of the Hereafter will enter with a 5/5, which is pretty decent. So they're going to take a turn off playing the Roamer's Routine. They're looking for another island. So here, I think it might potentially be worth it to actually play out our Champion of Doosan and then hold up the Snakeskin Veil. I would imagine they have a removal spell or they're going to use the rebuff here. So I'm actually going to do that instead of playing the Host of the Hereafter. And then we'll attack for 3. And then if they try to kill something we have, we could Snakeskin Veil and get 2/1/1 counters. A Snowmelt Stag was not on my bingo card. Okay, so if we Snakeskin... No, it's not worth it to Snakeskin Veil, is it? Okay, interesting. So I think that we are going to just attack with the Stalwart Successor. I don't feel a huge need to get rid of the Snowmelt Stag here. And then we're just going to double spell with the Assistant and the Traveling Botanist. I'd imagine they want to use the 5 power here to cast one of their... Interesting. Interesting. So I think we'll start by attacking like this. And then we can save our Stalwart Successor, turning it into a 5/4. Perfect. And then we'll get a Plains into our hand. And then we can still cast the Host of the Hereafter here. And it's going to be a 5/5. Holding up Kintree Severance. We've got a pretty big attack next turn. We'll see what our opponent does. I'd assume they'll rebuff something here, but even still, we just have so many creatures and such a big pressure on the board that I think this will be enough here. Ice Ridge Serpent's good. Oh my gosh. So we can just play the Elspeth, give everything flying and a counter, and we've got lethal.
Damn!
Oh my gosh! Sure, we don't care. Alright, we get there here as well in game number 4. Huge wins. All right, our opponent goes first here. We are going to keep this. Hopefully we can go and get a swamp with the Anok Wayfarer here. Unending Whisper is just fine. Kintry Severance was a pretty good draw. If we get a swamp, we can go Wayfarer into Doosan into Host of the Hereafter. Looks like our opponent wants that mountain. Hopefully our Anok Wayfarer can be just as nice and get us our swamp. Not quite. I don't care about another plains. So we're going to decline and take the counter here. And maybe just got us closer to a swamp draw here. Seems like Appraiser's good, so opponent's just going for a lot of value early here. We are continuing to draw forests, which is okay. I do think we're actually okay trading with this Sibsig Appraiser. Maybe we're not. Let's not attack. Kishless Skimmer is alright. We do draw our black source. It's just a tapped black source, which is not fantastic. And then we still don't have great attacks. We'll start to just take two through the sky here. And they're just going to play out a Sagu Wildling, which is pretty decent. We are going to play our Host of the Hereafter. And hold off on attacking still. Yeah, Unending Whisper is great. They can just draw 2 cards here. Might be a little bit too much value on our opponent's side for us to catch up, but we're going to keep trying. Looks like they might be holding up a counter spell as well, the way they tapped for that. I do think we have to start getting a little bit aggressive here. Otherwise, we're just going to slowly lose this game. So I'm going to attack everywhere. If they block our Champion of Doosan with their Sibsig Appraiser, then we'll put the Trample counter and the 1/1 counter on probably the Anok Wayfarer. Fresh Start is also just pretty solid here. Not much we can do about that. I will say that, like, if we just sit here and don't attack, we're going to slowly just lose the game. So we'll put the counter on the Anok Wayfarer, and then we'll hold up the Kintry Severance for their turn. I'm going to wait to use it. I think they're going to play something better than a Sagu Wildling, and we'll take 5 here. Either way, this is going to be a big uphill battle. Yeah, so we'll get rid of that. I mean, I don't think there's much we can do here. Abzan Monument does not quite get it done. I mean, if we drew our Planeswalker, we might have a chance. I do think we want to make a 4/4 here. It's not ideal. Yeah, let's keep taking 5. Not much we can do. Just getting a little bit flooded here, and yeah, we are not going to get there. I think technically we can stay alive, and then if we draw our Elspeth next turn, we can technically stabilize. They do have 6 cards in hand, 7 cards in hand. I'm just staying in there just in case here. The Kishless Skimmer's done great work for them. There's nothing we could have done. I mean, our removal spell was limited, so what are you going to do? Glacial Dragon Hunt's great. I just want to see if we were going to draw it. I'll fast forward through all this nonsense. Okay, we just drew a bunch of lands. It happens. And I think that's the thing with Abzan, right? Is like so many times your opponent is drawing cards and doing things and comboing. And an Abzan is just like, we want big creatures, big counters. And like I said, there's going to be times where we just draw a bajillion lands at the end of games. So hopefully we can recover and bounce back in this next one. All right, jumping into this next one, we are going to try and rely on the Inoc Wayfarer again to bring us a swamp. Looks like our opponent is going to have potentially a quick start. So hopefully our Wayfarer can get that swamp for us and we can cast our spells here. Bearer of Glory is decent enough. Okay, so we don't even need the Inoc Wayfarer to go get us a spell here. So I'm actually going to play out the Abzan Devotee. Sorry, go get a swamp. Because we can play the Stalwart Successor next turn. And then we can play the Wayfarer and turn it into a 3/3 if we don't want the lands. So here we will play out the Stalwart Successor. And then next turn we can go Alchemist Assistant into Inoc Wayfarer. Bolt and Exhale is great. We'll take 4 here. So our plan is somewhat thwarted. I do still think we want to do this so that we can draw a card with the Trade Route Envoy. I will say if we draw the Elspeth and we don't have a Plains, we're going to kind of feel like idiots though. Nah, let's risk it. And then I do actually think there's a chance that we start blocking with the Abzan Devotee just to minimize the damage that we're taking here. They did draw their 3rd land. Quarry Steelcutter is great. Hopefully they don't have another spell. Channel Dragonfire is great. Okay. This might be tough. Let's block like this. The Althan Tomb Guard does do a good job of blocking, so will the Trade Route Envoy. Is a 5/4. Botanist is decent. I think we just have to play out the Envoy. And then hopefully we can stabilize here. If we draw a lane, we can go Botanist into Tomb Guard and have 2 2/3s that can hopefully block their Bearers of Glory. They did draw another land, so they're closer to being able to activate that, and those just turn into nuisances. Sun Pearl Kirin is decent. Maybe they'll give that the haste here. Ugh. I don't love this attack. But if they just... Oh, this is so tough. I guess we'll just take it. Maybe they were just bluffing. I'm surprised they didn't do that before combat because it gives it haste as well as trample. So now we're just going to go with the Tomb Guard into the Botanist. And then we are going to attack with the Alchemist Assistant, try and get some life back. We might eventually have to just kill the Alchemist Assistant to one of the Bearers of Glory so we can put the lifelink counter on something like the Trade Route Envoy. Alright, so they didn't draw a land, which is nice. So we don't have to take the hit from the Bearers of Glory here. We'll just take 3 instead, as it stands. Alright, Formation Breaker's interesting. So I do think we're going to attack with the Trade Route Envoy and try and draw a card here. I think we might also just attack with the Assistant and the Tomb Guard as well, just to try and get some life gain here and put some pressure on our opponents. Because we can still play the Formation Breaker and have decent blockers next turn. So I'm going to go for that. It is pretty aggressive, I will say, being at 6 health. So we definitely can get bit here. They're going to get rid of the Alchemist's Assistant. And then I think that we are just going to play a Formation Breaker. Ooh, King Tree Nurturers. We can't get anything with that. So let's go Formation Breaker. And then put the lifelink counter on the Formation Breaker. If they draw a land, we're in trouble. But again, like, we got him to 9 health. We're trying to be a little bit aggressive just so we don't sit back and wait for them to draw lands and slowly kill us. Okay, we're also just dead to that. I don't know why. Oh, they're... Oh, sorry. I take it back. I thought they were playing the dragon. Okay. So that actually was quite good for us. Wow, did they still not get a land? That would be crazy. Coordinated maneuver is quite strong. We're going to block like this. I guess we'll actually take out the Bearers of Glory. And we go down regardless. Alright, hopping to this next one. Looking to bounce back a little bit here. I've had a couple tough games. We are going to keep this. We've got all of our colors, which we're excited about. We are lacking a little bit of a top end, but surely we'll draw some of our bombs here. I think with the Enoch Wayfarer, we're going to play this first in hopes we can get another plains just if we draw our Elspeth. Perfect. We can then cast it. And then they've got a Bearer of Glory, which is good. Here, I do think we are interested in... So here I do think we're going to offer a trade. I doubt they'll want to trade with us. But if they do, it's there. And then we're just going to play out the Alchemist Assistant. My logic behind that is that next turn we could play the Trade Route Envoy, or we can put a counter on the Assistant, and then play the Abzan Monument, and then eventually draw a card. So I think we might go that route, depending on what they play here. Salt Road, or Dakota Pack Beasts is good. So I do think we are interested in playing the Feral Deathgorger, putting a counter on the Assistant, and then playing the Abzan Monument, and getting a... I guess it doesn't matter. We'll take a Forest. Now next turn we can go Trade Route Envoy, draw a card, and then play our Armament Dragon. If they have a removal spell here, it's pretty tough for the Alchemist Assistant. Potentially should have just attacked and gotten that 3 life. This is a little bit greedy that I want to pick off one of the tokens and get 3 life. But if they use a removal spell, it's also not the end of the world, because we'll have up the Trade Route Envoy. So they are just going to attack with the Bearer of Glory. We're fine taking 2 here. Baron Step Siege is pretty good. So we're going to start putting counters on all of their creatures. I do think we're going to start by playing out the Trade Route Envoy and drawing a card here. We draw another land. Here we'll play a Forest. And then we're going to hold off on attacking still. Underfoot Underdogs is good. So they're just going to build out a giant board. We don't have... I guess we do have the Kintree Severance. Will work as some removal spells. But this is going to be tricky here. So... I do think we just have to go Armament Dragon. And make a giant Armament Dragon. We just don't have good attacks at all. Then next turn we can make a 7/7. And hopefully we can just do our damage through the skies. But if they have a removal spell here, it's tough. I think doing this just gives us our best chance of winning. Otherwise we'll just slowly lose. Alright, so it looks like they are just going to pass to us, which makes me feel like we might be able to sneak an attack in with the Armament Dragon. Okay, so we get to draw a card here. Formation Breaker is good, but I want to just make a 7/7. So we're going to try and do that here. Okay. Exiling that is fantastic because we cannot now put the lifelink counter on the Armament Dragon. So, yeah, they're going to get super aggressive here. We still have a good blocker in our Giant Spirit, though, so I think we played that about as good as we could have. Alright, so now I think we're just going to start by attacking with the Armament Dragon. And then we're just going to play out a lot of our other creatures. I don't really want to play the Wayfarer just because I'm nervous we're going to mill something that's heat at the top of our library. I feel like we're going to draw something good. And the other cards also just have more toughness. Should something go crazy here. So here I do think we'll block the Pack Beasts like this. And then we'll block like this. Or maybe we just take the 3. Let's do that. We also could have double blocked, but... Okay, so we definitely should have just double blocked. I will say, though, like... We're on a 2-turn clock. They don't have a removal spell for this. So if we can get 2 hits in with this, we win. I kind of don't mind that. They don't have any trample effects, so next turn we can just play this pretty conservative. We can block pretty conservatively. We will add this Swamp to our hand, so we can now cast the Abzan Devotee as well. Just putting out maximum amount of blockers here, and then we'll block pretty aggressively. So they are going to attack everywhere. And we're just going to block like this. We're taking 8 as it stands. No!
Nice.
So even if we had blocked everywhere, we still would have lost? Oh, pain. We were like 1 creature short. I think they drew Frontline Rush too. Oh, that is disgusting. Oh, that's a bummer. So that is how our video ends here today. We started 4-0 and we fell to 4-3. I think we saw a lot of the reasons of why Abzan is not performing well. Card draw wasn't great, and there just wasn't a lot to do other than play big, bulky creatures. But we go 4-3. We're giving away another rare card set on the channel. So if you want to be entered into that giveaway, like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below on how I did. Hit that subscribe button and follow along for the journey. Thanks y'all for watching. Until next time.